people in the milieu who were just talking to each other, who normally would never do so, would never actually hear each other. I'm sure you experience this too, but would never hear each other's arguments. It would have been, oh, that person is a socialist. Therefore, they won't listen to me, and I won't listen to them. I'll stand over here with the Gadsden flag. They'll stand over there with their red flag, and that'll be that. But there are all these incredible opportunities for cross-pollination. And in Occupy Burlington, those things were very similar. Particularly, we had safety shifts, and every 2 hours overnight there would be a different group of people, and every night there would be a group. So like there were nights that I walked with socialists, secessionists, anarchists, liberals who had never been involved in politics before. This was their first thing, and it was just really this kind of like people were willing to hear ideas. And I think in some ways like stereotypes are starting to develop. Those defensive things are starting to ossify around Occupy. But I think it's also the sort of thing where even if it's going to leave behind this network that bridges a lot of gaps that otherwise wouldn't have been bridged. And so it's the sort of thing where you can throw an idea or you can throw an action into the mechanism or into the network, and if it sticks, it can spread very quickly and very effectively. So that's that kind of like ability to spread action, spread ideas very quickly through the networks is something that I think is hugely valuable, and that sort of there's been within the libertarian community where I'm from, like there's been sort of mixed feelings about engaging with it, but the sort of thing where if it's like, hey, all right, here's an action against drug legalization. Oh wow, we can suddenly, instead of having 5 or 6 people with signs, we have 40 people with signs. This is, an expression of the power of that system. So those are my thoughts. I don't know if you want to throw down about your experience at Oakland.
Okay.
Occupy the podium. That's what we're doing.
There's no podium.
No,
Nobody took it.
Nobody
provided a podium.
So I too am on the campaign for Nobody at Occupy Oakland and Occupy SF. And the interesting thing about those two is they're kind of like sister occupations. They do a lot to sort of collaborate together. For example, there was a tweeting network that occurred almost immediately where, like, if the rumor became confirmed that the police were going to take action against Oakland or San Francisco, immediately they would take the BART, which is the public transportation, the tunnel under the bay, across the bay to the other occupies so that you double the numbers wherever the police were. And that kind of coordination happened so fast that police couldn't respond, and they were overwhelmed in a lot of cases whenever there was a police action, and so they shut down the BART. And that became the strategy, was they shut down public transportation, which is just a show of force, and it's a show of force that inconveniences so many people who are not involved that it becomes very obvious very quickly what's going on, which is sort of good. But one of the first things that I did at both Occupies was I polled people as to why they were there, and I polled 200 people in San Francisco and 200 people in Oakland, and I asked, what's your first cause? What's your first reason for being here? And I got dramatically different answers. And so I didn't even want to approach the idea of a list of demands or a list of purposes or whatever, because it was so decentralized. So I generated word clouds of everybody's responses. And the #1 response in San Francisco was end the Fed, and the #1 response in Oakland was abolish capitalism. But the #2 response in both towns, in both cities, was abolish corporate personhood.
Nice.
And so, like, it just became obvious that if you were willing to step it back one step, that you could create this very broad agreement across the board. Whereas, like, the communists, and I'm just going to be very generic, but we'll say the communists in Oakland didn't really care about the Federal Reserve at all. And the anti-Fed crowd in San Francisco was obviously not anti-capitalist. But everybody agreed that corporations were a problem and that there were legal mechanisms that made them a problem. So I saw an opportunity for cooperation, although I was not able to realize that in any way. I've kind of distanced myself from both of them because I kind of feel like they've been hijacked and there are secret leaders. But the culture is still very very nobody supporting. So, that's my experience.
That's great.
Maybe you want to wrap with what do So I think that you guys should all go out and campaign for nobody. This is a very important election year, and I think we should take advantage of it. I think that we can go out and talk to people about life without leaders, and we can do it without couching our positions behind a politician. It's a lot of fun to talk to people, and especially in this context, because it's just, they will laugh and you will laugh with them, and it's just, you know, you're going out and cracking jokes with people and talking about politics. It's a really great way to mock the system, and I would strongly encourage you guys to all go out, get together with your friends, make signs, print flyers. I guess it's a little late here in New Hampshire because the primary season is, you know, moved on elsewhere, but you guys still have opportunities to go out and to talk to people, and I think Yankees are all about not having people tell them what to do. So this is always a great place to do it. And I guess I'll leave it at that.
Awesome.
Does nobody have a website?
Nobody has several websites, actually. So on Facebook, it's what? Facebook/Vote for Nobody?
Vote for Nobody. Facebook/Vote for Nobody with a 4.
With a 4, not spelled out. Yeah, Google Vote. Yeah. Matt?
Oh, I just had sort of a question of sort of is there like, you know, if there's a website, is there kind of like coordinating group for like, or coordinating network of people in multiple places kind of on this campaign?
There's one in the works. There's a guy named Chris Bruner, who's he went and he purchased a lot of the inactive Vote for Nobody URLs, and he's trying to sort of have them all direct to a single site. And his plan is, I'm doing some of the art for it. His plan is to launch it after the primary is over, so it'll be a general election site. I don't know what the URL will end up being though.
I know there's
Google it.
there's
Google
anti/slash/politics.ws or something like that.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's something like that. You just, I mean, like what Rob was at Google
if you
search.
plug Vote for Nobody into Google search, that's usually the first one that comes
Yeah,
up for me.
I think Brad did that one. Brad Spangler. Did he do
That's
that?
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you can get some really nice flyers there that seem to be really popular. People come to my table requesting them if I don't have them out. So yeah, go out, signs, flyers, have fun, crack jokes with people, and talk about anarchy.
Excellent.
Thanks, Rocco. Just the housekeeping again.
Oh, cool. Nice to meet you. I'm Nick.